Good afternoon. This is Dr. John Bennett broadcasting from sunny Miami. We have another in the series of Medgadget.com Hangouts, meeting the people behind the tech. And today we have the team of Ohio State University Wexler Medical Center talking about their medical devices using video games for stroke rehab. But first, I'll introduce the panelists. First, the editor of Medgadget, Gene. Hello, Gene.
Hello, I'm Gene Ostrovsky. I am a managing editor of Medgadget. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the Hangout. I hope everyone has a good time.
Yeah, welcome, Gene. And Rakesh?
Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Rakesh AV from India. I'm a neurosurgery resident, and I'm very glad to be here for the Medgadget's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh. And Slaven?
Hello everyone, my name is Slaven Gorkovic. I'm a medical student at the University of Zagreb in Croatia, and I'm a director of the Rotten course in neurosurgery, and I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome, Slaven. And okay, Lynn Gauthier, could you please start off, introduce yourself and introduce your team, please?
Hi, I'm Lynn Gauthier. I'm an assistant professor at OSU, and my primary research is in stroke rehab and making stroke rehab accessible through video games.
Very good. And you're here with an associate?
Hi, I'm Lise Worthen-Chowdhury. I'm also faculty in the same department that Lynn is. We're both in physical medicine and rehabilitation, and we both do neurorehabilitation games.
Okay, very good. Okay, could you please tell us about your innovative device?
Okay, I can go first.
Sure.
So our video game is making constraint-induced movement therapy, which is a proven therapy for stroke rehab. It's been supported by hundreds of research studies, but it's not widely available. So we use new technology to make this video game, accessible to people in their homes.
Can you tell us about how it works and kind of some details about the technology?
Okay, sure. I can go into more in depth with that.
Please. If you have slides, we'd love to see them.
Yes, we do. Sure. Okay.
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
Yep. So in upper extremity rehab today, we know from the research that's been done that there are at least two very important elements of rehab. One is intensity, and one is carryover. So the extent that the person can take the improvements that they've made in the training that they get and generalize those improvements to their daily functioning. So actually change their habit of not using a weaker hand or arm for daily activities. So one, you need the intensity to build strength and to increase range of movement, but you also need habit change to happen in order to get change in quality of life and brain change. And we've done quite a bit of research to demonstrate that both of these elements are very important. So currently, motor rehab it lacks intensity and it lacks carryover in standard care, and there's also a substantial burden to motor rehab. So there's a very high cost. There's a transportation burden on patients and their families, and the caregivers have quite a burden to get people to their rehab sessions. So the state of rehab currently is that there's quite a high burden for very little sustained benefit. With standard care. What we know is that effective interventions do exist. They're well researched, and the sad thing is that they've actually existed for over 25 years. One of these research interventions is called constraint-induced movement therapy, or CI therapy for short. And CI therapy harnesses both of the important elements of rehab. It has been shown to produce consistently superior motor performance and better retention of the improvements that people make compared to standard occupational and physical therapy. And we also know that not only does it improve motor function, but it also changes the person's habit of not using a weaker upper extremity for their daily activities. And we know from our brain research that it produces structural and functional brain change. So not only is the person improving, but they're actually changing their brain in the process of improving. We have some data from Liepert and Taub back in 2000 that showed that the part of the brain that drives movement of the weaker hand and arm actually increases about 5-fold with this therapy. And we also know that brain structure changes. So the density of that cortical ribbon around the outside of the brain where the cell bodies are located, when people get CI therapy, that density actually increases. Whereas when people just get intensive rehab without the carryover pieces, you don't get that change in intensity. So basically the state of the science is that we know CI therapy works better than other interventions. It stems from the basic research, but it's just not widely used. And the reasons for that are mainly cost. It's very costly of a therapist's time, and it's not particularly patient-centered or not well reimbursed. So we tried to get over some of these barriers of cost and of lack of accessibility and it not fitting into the current healthcare model by using new technology that just came out. So the solution that we came up with was to combine rehab gaming using the Microsoft Kinect sensor with a smartwatch device, and that delivers some biofeedback on how a person's actually using their weaker arm for daily activities, plus keeping a therapist in the loop. And the therapist is really critical for helping promote habit change, or the carryover of the training to a person's daily life and daily activities. And using this technology, we can take a therapy that was previously only accessible in select clinics, and we can deliver it in people's homes. So our therapy consists of high repetition practice that we use through video gaming, and we actually get quite high repetitions with it, about 1,000 movements per hour. And in working with the therapist and combining the therapist guided problem solving with biofeedback that patients are getting through the smartwatch, it helps them carry over the gains that they make in motor functioning to actually using their arm more in their daily activities and using it more effectively. So those two elements of the therapy kind of make up our whole entire intervention. I can show you a video on our technology. How do we get to that? So I'm opening the video here.
Okay. Okay. Here you go.
Okay, and start it here.
I don't know, I guess I kind of felt bad for myself not being able to do some things because, you know I couldn't get full benefit out of this left side. But when I got into the game and started to use it, I started to use it more, so it was a great opportunity and benefit to me.
Constraint-induced movement therapy is an intensive training program for training a weaker hand or arm. CI therapy works better than other interventions because it trains not only just strengthening a person's weaker arm, but also changes a person's habit of not using the weaker arm for daily activities.
Many facilities can't offer constraint-induced movement therapy because of the barriers that exist. One barrier is insurance coverage.
There's also the challenge of the patients getting to the clinic, so a lot of people don't have access to reliable transportation.
To solve the access problem, we developed a game called Recovery Rapids that allows individuals to exercise in an intense way in their home.
And the game is played by a person moving their weaker hand and arm.
The virtual world is really the perfect world for constraint-induced movement therapy. In order to interact with this game, we can program it in such a way that only the left arm is useful.
In addition to the person playing the game, they meet periodically with a therapist about twice per week, and the therapist works with the person on helping them carry over the motor gains that they've made to their daily activities. One of the ways that they do this is through the use of a smartwatch biofeedback device. The biofeedback device tells the person how much they're moving their weaker arm and also prompts them to use the arm if a period of inactivity has been detected.
Lifting is one thing that I do. Another thing is when I'm doing my cleaning, I use my left hand a whole lot more. When I'm into doing my shoes and my dressing and stuff, I used to kind of back away from it because, you know, I know I couldn't get more benefit out of this left side. But it started to increase as I went along, able to fastening up my clothes and stuff now. I don't have the problems that I used to have with it.
Okay. Can they see that?
Mm-hmm.
So what we found is that we actually get pretty decent compliance in that people are actually using the game when it's at home and there's no direct therapist supervision, which is good because home practice in general isn't adhered to very well in rehab. But people find it engaging, so they adhere to the program quite well. And we have some initial evidence that suggests that people improve in terms of motor functioning and their daily functioning in their daily lives. One area that actually surprised us is that we measured people's fatigue both before and after. Because one concern is that, oh, if you're engaging in this really intensive intervention where you're adding, you know, an hour and a half a day of motor practice, when people are already, you know, struggling to get through their regular day and feeling very fatigued because they've had neurological injury. The concern was that adding practice was going to just totally wipe them out. And in fact, we actually found the opposite of that. We found that fatigue actually decreased about 18% on average from before to after the intervention, and from severe to moderate fatigue from before to after. We also found that motor speed improved as we might expect, and we found really large improvements in amount and quality of use of the weaker arm for daily activities. We also saw improvements in health-related quality of life, and patient satisfaction with the intervention was quite high. So far our research has shown that it's feasible to provide constraint-induced movement therapy through a video game in-home to individuals with MS and stroke. We have shown that video game delivery eliminates the main barriers to access and that people are able to adhere to the gaming protocol. And we found some initial evidence that it actually improves functioning in the areas that people have concern with. So they want to move faster, they want to move better, and they want to use their arm effectively in their daily life. So we have some initial evidence that our technology helps with that. Get back to it. Oh.
Okay, it's not moving, Lynn?
I'm trying to get back to.
Okay, well, just click on it manually. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. There you go. You figured that out. That's great.
Yeah, my video. No, my video.
Okay.
My camera, just regular camera.
Okay.
Hey, you got me back?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Great.
So just to clarify, so the video game is controlled by a some kind of a robotic arm, right, that senses what the person is doing?
Actually, it's controlled by the Microsoft Kinect camera, which is a sensor that it's essentially just a video camera. So the person just has to have a Kinect, and they plug it into their computer, and the Kinect detects a person's body movements just with an infrared and regular video camera. So there's no sensors that need to be attached to the person, no robotic device, nothing. It's just essentially a camera looking at the person. So the person moves just in they move in different movement patterns to drive the gameplay. So it's a little bit more natural for people who haven't done a lot of video gaming or don't have a lot of experience with technology, because all they have to do is move. And we tried to make the specific movements very intuitive. So for example, the person's in a kayak and they're paddling their kayak by paddling into the water. And then they move their arm in the direction that they want to steer the kayak. You know, grab things out of the water, catch things as they're falling down from the sky. So the movements that drive gameplay are designed to be fairly intuitive.
Is this available already? Can somebody actually download this somewhere and just?
Yeah, we did commercialize it out of Ohio State University. We formed a public benefits corporation called Games That Move You, and it's available for download on our website.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, you made a specific game, right, for Stroke Rehab. I was just wondering if, just general games, are they beneficial at all? Have they been studied for Stroke Rehab?
Yeah, there has been some earlier work in video gaming for rehab. So like Rehab is what they call it. The Wii was probably the first video game that was widely adopted in therapy clinics. The quality of the evidence to date isn't very great, and that's why our lab at Ohio State is doing a multi-center, a randomized controlled trial comparing video game delivery of constraint-induced movement therapy to standard care and to in-clinic constraint-induced movement therapy, so that we will have a better quality of evidence as to how the relative effectiveness of video game delivery versus in-clinic models of care. The studies that have been to date, they're typically small sample size studies like what our pilot work was, and they do show that video gaming is helpful for at least some elements of movement recovery. What the other studies that have used the Wii and other types of gaming systems have found is that it mainly helps with motor function, but gaming by itself does not help with the carryover piece or the habit change. And that's another important aspect of motor rehab. So most of the commercially available games, they will get at one element of rehab, but they're not designed to be rehab systems either. So, they can be useful as exercise. They could probably help strengthen the weaker arm. They're not designed to promote better movement patterns, so it's not clear whether they really do that. And they certainly don't help the person carry over any of the gains they make in rehab to their daily lives, which is really important for retention of gains. So what we've tried to do in our technology is fill in the gaps there and overcome some of those shortcomings by taking an intervention that's already known to do those things and gamifying it. So we started with the therapy, not with the game, and we designed the game to have those elements of the therapy incorporated within it. And then we incorporated other technology to help with the carryover piece. So the game itself probably doesn't do that. If you don't have the therapist in the loop and you don't use the biofeedback watch, you're probably not going to get the kind of carryover that someone would need to really benefit maximally from the technology.
So it improves compliance, more or less, or strength of compliance?
For sure. I mean, compliance is very poor in standard outpatient care.
Right.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it's very poor. With our gaming, we get about 75% compliance. And we're asking them to play for a lot of hours, an hour and a half a day, essentially. So that's a lot of time, and they're still doing that for the most part.
And is that done in one session, or is that the hour and a half broken up?
We let them break it up however they want. Some people choose to play an hour and a half session all at once. For most people who've experienced stroke, that's not feasible. So typically people will break it into 2 to 3 sessions a day.
Okay.
Okay. Is Lise going to present something or no? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go ahead with your presentation, Lise?
Okay. Let's see. So.
Let's see if we can get it to work.
The technology I have worked on, it's called Embedded Arts, and just to give you a little background about myself and sort of how I came to this. So there we go. I am actually I'm a biomechanist, and I was a professional dancer in San Francisco before coming to the faculty position here at the Ohio State University Wexler Medical Center. So I've kind of blended those two things. Biomechanics is the math and the science of movement, and dance is the art of movement. And so I blended those two things to create, I create interactive art applications that can be used during physical therapy. It's sort of like biofeedback, except it's pretty biofeedback. So I'm showing a slide here that's got the dance company I used to dance for, motion capture, which is what biomechanists do, an interactive art image that was created by somebody who was doing physical therapy using the application that I developed, and then just another picture of what rehabilitation looks like. And one of the reasons that I think this is so important, the gaming technology that's coming out, what Lynn is doing, what I'm doing, there are a lot of people doing great work in this space. So the way that we learn movement, you can explicitly learn or you can implicitly learn. And we know that the picture on my left, the person speaking, we know if you speak at someone, that's not how people learn motor patterns. For instance, the classic example is when you're riding a bike. You didn't learn to ride the bike because someone said, extend your right hip, now flex your left hip at the same time. You don't break it down, you don't deconstruct it that way. You get on the bike, somebody helps you make sure you don't fall over, so you can do a little bit of trial and error, and your body has to figure it out for itself. So generally speaking, in neuroscience we refer to that as implicit learning, the learning that is done to learn any kind of movement pattern. It's the same in sports, it's the same in dance. So the problem with physical therapy is that in physical therapy, you're trying to help somebody understand, somebody who used to know how to move, understand how they can move their own body from the inside again. And a lot of that takes a lot of education. It takes a lot of external cueing to do that. So how do you maintain that education, that external cueing, but try to make that as implicit a process as possible? One of the technologies that we're using is this gaming technology, so that people can actually go through the motions themselves and trigger game mechanics and feel satisfaction at triggering motions for themselves, while the physical therapist is there to guard them, to guide them, to help them extend the envelope of what they thought they could do. So here's a picture of someone who's doing balance training. In particular with balance training, it doesn't really work in repetitions. You can't, to learn to recover from a fall or a potential fall.
Excuse me, Lisa, are you referring to the picture on the right?
The picture on the two pictures of the person, that is someone doing balance training.
At the top, company Chaddock.
Oh, you're not on the next one. Hang on.
Okay, I think you may be. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
So then, here, did you see this slide?
Explicit and implicit motor learning we're on.
Yeah. So the picture of the bike is on the right. Sorry about that. And the picture of someone talking is on the left. And I mean, anybody who's learned any sport or even e-gaming, it takes a lot of physical. You have to actually physically key things in or move the mouse or move the gaming mouse. You don't learn it because somebody told you what to do. People don't like to be told what to do. So this is kind of tough for physical therapists. So here you have a situation where you're trying to tell somebody what to do in order to improve their balance, in order to be able to recover from a perturbation. But that's a lightning fast thing. You've really got to train your body to be able to do that. And that's where implicit learning becomes critical. So the question that I asked, that my lab asked, was whether we could provide basically biofeedback, but pretty biofeedback, engaging biofeedback. And I took the sort of the proof of concept that I thought would be hardest, that the biggest stretch. Could we actually improve engagement in physical therapy exercise performance by enabling people to create abstract art with their movement? I mean, abstract art, not a lot of people are fans of abstract art. So we put sensors on the moving limbs, and the sensor is detected by the computer. The signal from the sensor is transformed into an abstract art trace that the person can see that they're controlling. And as they do their physical therapy, they're actually creating artwork with every therapeutic motion that they make. So we get comments like the person here who, in the pictures, who is doing balance training. We get comments from the therapists that say that one of the things that they like about this sort of a concept is that normally they have to give instructions about how to do an exercise precisely. So move exactly in this way 15 times. When what they really want to do is say, all right, now recover from this perturbation 15 times. And by actually encouraging people to draw on the screen to create abstract art, the clients end up self-perturbing, and the physical therapist ends up guarding them while they do that. So essentially, the clients are exploring the boundaries of their own stability in the safety of the clinic with the physical therapist. It's one of the things that people have commented that they like. Clients have commented that it just helps them focus, to have something to look at, something even as engaging as abstract art, which perhaps isn't the most engaging thing you can think of. But actually, it really works. I tried several different designs, and this was the one that people liked. So focus is an issue. Being able to get at exercises that therapists can't normally get at is an issue. So essentially, we're saying, you know what, we know physical therapy works, especially for balance. You know, any Cochrane review that you look at, it says that the thing that's going to work, that's going to help people improve their balance, is physical therapy. People don't want to do physical therapy, so how do we make it more engaging? How do we make it more interesting? So of course, because it's a sensor on the person, we also can record metrics about how the person is moving, the qualities with which they're moving, how long they're moving, which also is helpful.
Okay, Lisa, you're on the third slide. Is that the slide you want to be on?
Still?
Okay, you're on the third slide. So I don't know if you want to be on there or not. Sometimes you have to change it manually, as the automatic part doesn't work. Okay.
Ooh, yeah, and actually now it's disappeared, so I'm not actually sure where it is. So I'll just go ahead and show the video.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Get that? Right.
So, here we go. So essentially, we're just trying to increase engagement.
Okay. Wait. Okay.
Increase engagement through gaming technology that also enables us, by using sensors, it enables us to document the therapy that's being done, such that we actually have quantified outcomes about that therapy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Questions from Slavin or Rakesh or Jean?
Well, I might have one question. I'm sorry if my audio is bad. Hello, my name is Slavin. I'm here in Zagreb, Croatia. It's currently the falling of the night. But I just wanted to ask you, are you satisfied with the outcomes that you have with these technologies? I was impressed by the amount of different ways that you can help people with all these technologies that you showed in the first presentation and in this other. And what are some future developments that you're working on today? So I would just like to have your comment on the research furthermore. Thank you.
Yeah. So in terms of outcomes, we're finding that people in an hour-long session of therapy, people are getting a higher dose of movement when they use interactivity. So if you take, say, balance, you take people with the same starting balance function, the same, they both have stroke, both similar types of stroke. The person who uses the interactivity just seems to get more movement during that session. They get more dose. If movement is medicine, they get a higher dose of that medicine during the hour that they have with the physical therapist. In addition, another study that I did showed that in stroke you have a wide range of cognitive impairment, and the people who have motor impairment but not a lot of cognitive impairment are fine with sort of the Rehab type games that Lynn talked about. But the people who have more cognitive impairments, they need a different design, a different type of design, maybe less strategic immersion. And so I think that what we're finding in the literature and or sorry, not in the literature, but we're finding in our data, the first study that we published showed that people with very low cognitive, a lot of cognitive impairments are still able to interact with the interactive arts application. So you're able to get to people that can't even understand instructions by using this sort of technology. That's a population in need. It's an important population to get to.
And you also did researches with some spinal cord injuries, if I'm correct.
Yes.
With this, yes, and yes, I really am fascinated by the ways that technologies can be used today, and I think it is a very natural way. So I'm very glad. Thank you for presenting this presentation. I'm very glad that I saw it.
Rakesh, do you have any questions? Rakesh?
Yeah, hi. I'm Dr. Rakesh from India. I'm a neurosurgery resident. First of all, I'm very impressive about the innovative ideas you come up with video games that help the stroke patients. It was very impressive. I just wanted to know the data, like how many patients have you tried this on, and how many have improved?
So for mine, in order to develop something like this, you have to go through, really the right way to do it is to go through 3 phases. The design phase, what we call phase 1, which is feasibility, which is the first trial of something, a device or a drug with humans. And then phase 2, which is efficacy. So across the spectrum of that, for my technology, at this point I've done more than 100 participants, but that breaks down. So it's, it's like 15, 40, and 40. That didn't add up to 100, but that's about what it is for efficacy.
Well, it's just starting. One thing, Lisa and Lynn, I'm surprised at is you can actually see changes on the MRI post-rehab, improvements that Lynn showed initially. Have you guys done any MRIs on people that have used this tech compared to people that use the conventional forms of rehab, or it's kind of early in the ball game to do that?
Well, first we needed to see that the rehab actually worked before we would want to invest, because MRIs are very expensive. In our study, it costs, I'm doing a study using MRI in constraint-induced movement therapy, and we do see changes from constraint-induced movement therapy, which is the intervention that our technology is based off of. We haven't done that step with this technology yet because MRIs are very expensive. So each participant that we're enrolling in that study, it's about $2,500 in MRI per participant. So we needed to make sure the technology worked and worked similarly to constraint-induced movement therapy before we could justify that kind of expensive trial to do those MRI studies. But we're excited about that in the future because one of the things that's really lacking in rehab is a knowledge of dose response and what aspects of the rehab program create brain change. So we know that the program as a whole does, and we know from one study that I did, one MRI study that I did, that the carryover is important for brain change. Without the carryover techniques, you don't get brain change. So we know that, but that's it. We don't know what types of movement are the most important for promoting both functional recovery and brain change. It hasn't been done on that fine of a scale, and we don't even know what dose is necessary for brain change. So one of the things that technology can give us is a very quantifiable way to measure those things that can't be measured in standard rehab. The only way to measure dose in standard rehab has typically been just time. How many hours of therapy did the person have?
Yeah.
But those hours of therapy look very different depending on the patient and what activities are being done in that time.
Right. It's good to have the subjective opinion of the therapist, but it's nice to have concrete proof in black and white almost. But I guess it is early. Gene, do you have any comments or questions?
I was just wondering whether some people, take to one form better than the other. Well, simply because, I've never been good at drawing with my hands, so I can just see not being able to spend a lot of time with a drawing application, while with a game, someone like me would, while someone else does like drawing.
Yeah, ideally, as interactive designers, we're going to have to come up with lots of different options. So the company that's commercialized the Agile Arts technology has got several different sort of modes that you can use. So one is the drawing mode that the original research was done on, sort of the hard proof of concept. If this can work with abstract art, it's really going to be powerful. And then a second that they have available is actually, as people move, they uncover a picture that's underneath. It's just a opacity or semi-opacity over the picture, and that picture can be from a grandchild. That picture can be the Christmas card. It can be the Eiffel Tower. Just something, anything, any kind of interactivity, movement by the stroke patient, the person who has a stroke, in a way that records the quality of movement and the duration of movement, so that we can study it.
So I'm guessing probably probably the ideal would be to have different sort of games and interactive things that the person does, not just to stick with one that seems to work really well.
Absolutely. I mean, games are not the game. You're supposed to get sick of it. You play for a while and you want to play it. We've got to have we've got to diversify our portfolio.
And it's not just about playing different games either, though. So, for example, if someone had the game we built and then Wii games, they get at kind of different things. Wii is good for movement, and it creates, you probably get a cardiovascular benefit out of it. But games that are not designed for rehab probably have a limitation in that you don't get the carryover. So that's the important thing to keep in mind. It's not just about the game, but you also have to have that other piece of it, which you get through the biofeedback aspects and through the work with the therapist. So the game is essentially just one piece of an intervention. And that's often what people miss when they think about rehab gaming. They think about the game as the intervention, and it's not. They're really useful tools, but it's not the whole intervention. And we even know this at the level of the brain research. If you don't have the carryover, you don't get long-term benefits, and you don't get improved quality of life. So the game it can be conceptualized as a tool. And you also have to be careful, too, about matching a game that fits to the needs of the patient. So if somebody were to use a commercial game like Wii just to get different options for their rehab, you would want to make sure that the movement in that game was something that the patient actually wanted to work on, and that would work muscle groups that would be beneficial to that patient.
So what is your favorite game? Is it Candy Crush? Is it Call of Duty? What game would you play?
Me?
Anyone?
I don't know. Are you guys into video games? I'm a little older, and that brings me to another question. When you have someone older like me, I guess it probably is different in compliancy. Because in my generation, we didn't really grow up with video games. Well, you guys probably grew up with them, right? It's part of the...
I mean, the research says that the average gamer is like a 40-year-old woman. I mean,
really?
TV's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, interestingly, with our game, we designed it to be for people who hadn't played games.
Okay.
We found that we've had people who are 80 using it, and they had no problems with it, and they were really comfortable with it. I think some of the gesture-based interfaces are really good for rehab because they don't require you to learn a controller. They don't require, it's not intuitive to push a button to jump. But with a gesture-based interface where you're jumping to jump, it makes a lot more sense. And it's easier for people who've never played a game to get it. I would say that on average it takes people about 10 minutes to learn the game and to learn all the movements and be able to kind of master it. If you have someone who's got cognitive difficulties, that can take a half an hour or more depending on how severe. But I think it's appropriate for anybody.
Yeah, it's a concept more than a game. Okay, well, I know you guys have to go. Thank you very much for coming out and letting us know about this innovative technology for stroke patients, rehab. And I'd like to thank the guests also for showing up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Great, thank you for having us.
It was very interesting. Thank you.
So thank you very much, guys. It's going to be recorded, and we'll sign off now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.